One of Duff Chapter 4 introduces prepositions. They're something I personally find quite difficult about language learning, particularly in New Testament Greek, but they're really important. We'll spend some time doing different activities to get you grounded in these, and hopefully, through studying them and using them, you'll come to a point where they make more sense. First of all, what is a preposition? The key point is we're talking about relationships. So, anything that explains one entity with respect to another and gives you that relationship between them. In English, that's going to be words like in, under, on, behind, from, out of, inside. Any of those kinds of words are prepositions. Some of them are simple words, in, on. Some of them are phrases, out of, in English. English doesn't decline its nouns very effectively. So in English, all of the work has to be done by the word itself. In Greek, what you're going to find is it's a combination of the vocab term plus the case you use for the noun that gives you the relationship between the nouns involved. So, what we do need to think about is a general feel to each of the cases. This is going to be important as we head through the rest of the course, so I want you to get a real sense for it now, hence the ridiculous drawing. I make no pretences. We'll start with the accusative. In general, the accusative has a sense of motion. So you can go pros the house, going up the garden path. But if you actually want to go into it, that's ace and the accusative. Then we have the genitive. And the genitive will tend to give you a sense of bounded motion of some kind, or of going away from something. So in this case, we're going to have a little stick man who's running away from the house, and that would be apo. And we're going to have another stick man leaning out of the window, and that's ek. And then you have the dative, which gives you a point. So here we have a dative person who is simply in the house, or a bird in or on the tree. Those are the basic prepositions given to you at the start of Duff. There are, however, a number that take more than one case, and this is where having a sense of how your cases work is really important. So if we take a preposition like para means beside. So if we were going to take it in the dative, you've just got two people next to each other. If, however, we put para into the genitive, then we've got someone who's going from the side. And if we go into the accusative, then we've got someone who's alongside. And this kind of language often gets used to explain how people are on a seashore. They might be para next to the sea. Jesus might be preaching from beside the sea. He might be going for a walk along the seashore, or he might be leaving to go into town from beside the seashore. And all of those can be expressed using para. So you can graphically represent a lot of prepositions. Some of them, however, are more metaphorical. It's worth looking carefully at dear. I'm going to put this in a box because dear these are a bit different. Dear, because of in the accusative, and through in the genitive. I remember these as being a little bit counterintuitive because one might expect anything with the word of to be genitive and it's not, it's accusative. And one might expect anything that's got emotion like through to be accusative, but it's not, it's genitive. So I have to remember dear as being the opposite to what I expect. So if you look carefully at Duff pages 46 to 47, you get a whole chart of these. Dear is there under prepositions that take two cases. Similarly, para, plus the accusative, genitive, or dative. Epi can also take the accusative, genitive, or dative, and it's going to be about that location onto accusative motion, being located on something in the genitive, and the dative on. There's actually very little difference between those. They're remarkably similar when it comes to epi, actually. And the New Testament messes around with those quite a lot. Other important ones, though, include kata. Here, in the accusative, it's according to. In the genitive, it's against. They are opposites. So you have to be really careful with those, that you pay attention to what's going on. Kata also means down. So you may find it also used to refer to descent to the underworld and things like that. Meta. You might know things like metaphysics. All of those meta type words are the after meaning from the accusative. But in the genitive, it means with and can express how you go along with someone. There is another word meaning with, and that's sun plus the dative. And you'll find that texts vary in which they're used for various different reasons, and you might get a feel for that as you read more of the New Testament. Peri, think about words like periscope. It's about looking around, and in the accusative, that's your motion around, and in the genitive, that's just about concerning. It's much more conceptual. Hyper gives us the English hyper, obviously, and that means above, so that's your excessive word in the accusative, but in the genitive it means on behalf of, and you're going to get Jesus dying on behalf of us for our sins, etc., and that may well be expressed using hyper. Hypo, so very similar, gives you hypo, and this is where you have to think about things like hypoglycemic and hyperglycemic. Anybody who's ever had problems with blood sugar will understand the difference there. If you're hypo, you've gone under where you should be. Then you need to think about compounding. And you've got to think about the different ways Greek compounds. Greek loves compounding. So you might get something like ek plus ballo gives you ekballo. Ek means out. Ballo means throw. Ekballo, throw out. Then you get compounds like apo, luo, giving you apoluo, where the compounding modifies things. Apo, away from, luo, untie, apoluo, divorce or set free. You can see the link, it's just not direct. Finally, you get words where there just is no link. Anaginosko, giving you anaginosko. Ana means up, ginosko means I know, anaginosko means I read. It's a wholly new word that has nothing to do with its parts. You need to get used to learning these and figuring out the first two. And most of them will be ones you can figure out, so you don't need to worry about it all too much. Greek compounds really well, very frequently, and you will get used to doing all of this. But when you're learning your compounds, do make a note in the vocab of if it's a Class C compound, because they're the ones that you cannot guess and do have to make a note of.